This last exposure to whatever variant was another eye-opening experience of understanding constructs and past, present, future, which are all the same, and understanding storylines and constructs, and then the deception of time and the word time being used as whatever you want it to be, whatever you interpret time is. And I'm trying to find a way to say this, because this is not easy. This is so abstract that even I have difficulty in trying to explain my thought process, but I feel it. And so when we think about what time represents, it represents memories that people will hold in and keep remembering. And then the words that describe their reality in this present day becomes their actual reality. And so when you forget what it feels like to feel pain, when you forget what it feels like to experience something that is emotional, they call it healing. See, that's the whole thing with antibiotics and cutting out organs. That's the healing process in the medical holistic energy healing world. It's the process of remembering too much and having so much abundance of memories to then having not enough memory to make proper choices. And so I'm looking at everything that I've written so far, and I'm like, oh God, now I got to go and figure out how to write this and rewrite this, and this is insane. That's the magic of feeling pain. Okay, and there's the poet that I don't know it aspect of it, is that the magic of feeling pain is really just experiencing the insanity of the world that we live in and the constructs that were given to us and the words that we use to create and to establish and reinforce an infrastructure, belief system. Okay, and so I understand now. Well, I've been understanding everything. I understand why people do what they do. And I understand why the system keeps going over the past. But if you don't remember the past, then how do you not repeat it? We're repeating it today. Because you are bringing light to something that is dark doesn't mean that you're going to stop it, because it continues when it is brought back into existence. The only way we're not going to repeat the past is if we have a long memory but release the excess memories and we stay alive. The only reason why we keep repeating the dark moments of history is we keep dying and then reproducing children who are not very aware of the past and the things that were done to us generations ago and even today. And so yeah, we are in a crisis of existentialism. What is our existence? What are we creating as the present? And so I said that, when you're done trying to save the world, because I got into I would say a discussion with someone who was a bit highly spirited, because they were trying to dredge up past memories from the genocides in Australia. And I completely understand what their point was. And that's us going like, oh my God, I've got to bring up World War II and bring up all these other types of wars and things. And I'm like, there's no way to save anyone with bringing up the past if they don't have the capacity to save themselves. Because then what you deem as protection or not protection will be based upon then you saying, okay, I'm going to take this information this person put out there, and I'm going to react to it based upon my interpretation of what protection is. That's why when people are promoting protective measures, whether it's website protection, whether it's holistic allopathic protection, what does that even mean? Protection is so abstract. Protection is left to interpretation. And that's all the smoke and mirrors, that's all the things that then somebody can take to the extreme. Deny themselves the protection or give themselves so much protection. And then in the end, they still pass away anyways. They still get harmed by the present. Well, what is harm? Well, you know, if you are a proponent for life and you're trying to utilize perceptions of protection so you can stay alive and you still end up passed away, then you got caught up in those modalities of falling in line with someone's interpretation of protection and or trying to counter that protection. And so, again, time does not heal wounds. Time is what reinforces the new wounds that are the old wounds. Because what is time? You can't experience time. You can only look at time. What represents time? Numbers, words, clocks, deadlines. When life is continuous and you're just adapting to the infrastructure that you're in, then time doesn't even exist. Space and time. What's space and time? Well, space is about volume. It's how you measure volume. Length times width times height, and how much of constructs and storylines can you fit within the volume of time, and how many objects and intelligence can you fit within the volume of space. And so then you're like, oh my God, what? This is just like so. It's like there's nothing concrete. No, there's nothing concrete. And so here I am writing my book about, Sumerian pantheon, politics, religion, science, which I'm going to basically say, yeah, they're storylines. And I'm writing about what my whole point of immortality and indefinite life. And it is a new storyline, but not really. It's a storyline that's been told before, but in different simulations. And then you're like, okay, so I don't want to write anything concrete, but I want to leave it open to infinite. You can have infinite death, where a person eventually passes away from the chaos because they didn't know how to bring in the proper elements to keep them alive or counter whatever intention someone else had for them. And so that time is like a limited death process time, and you have a lifetime where you're continuously living, and there is no limitation of time constructs that are limiting your capacity to adapt and mutate and evolve and change. And so then my book construct can't be concrete. It must allow for a person to choose to have that storyline that they should die someday, but then also give them the opportunity that they can live indefinitely. But here is the limiting time constructs that represent death. Cures, all the storylines that are out there that are linear, that reinforces your belief system that there's a beginning and there's an ending. And that's why I brought in, Hollywood and the script writing and the prescriptions and conscription and then you see all the words are aligning with the intentions behind the outcomes. And so it becomes very complicated to those that are not aware of the bigger picture, that they live in their compartmentalized world of being a savior. I mean, that's what the whole Walking Dead is where they're representing a group called the Saviors that were out there killing people. They were called the Saviors. They're saving people by killing people who were killing people. And both sides deem themselves the saviors of humanity. The saviors deem themselves the saviors, and the saviors from the saviors are deeming themselves the saviors of the saviors of the saviors. And you're like, what the hell is going on here? And so when you're tired of saving the world, and you finally are like exhausted, you realize that all of your activism, all of your modalities of saving somebody through politics, religion, and science isn't working anymore, and people still end up dead anyways, and they haven't been saved from whatever it is that you were doing, and then you still have substance to you, now it's time to save yourself. No, I'm not trying to save you. I'm giving you the opportunity to figure out a different construct. I'm not trying to save anybody. Yes, that's where I came from in the beginning, because I was like everybody else, trying to save somebody. From a virus, from the New World Order, from the Illuminati, from the different religions. And that's all spinning and looping in this major money-motivated construct called saving people. Now I'm saying, okay, stop and smell the flowers for a minute. My husband out there fishing with his friends out there in Tennessee. So he would travel a certain amount of miles to get to Tennessee from Ohio to go and fish. Now, I'm not saying anything's wrong or right. He went to another house, an Airbnb, and they went and fished a different lake in the same world of the earth. Okay. And I sat here in my home being sick, going like, okay, what am I doing? I'm smelling the flowers here. I'm taking in knowledge. I'm not busybody. I'm not busy and distracted. I'm not motivated by money. I'm not motivated by saving people. I'm motivated by really bettering myself and how do I explain who I am and what I'm about. And yes, it does come from a little bit of the construct of wanting to save humanity, because like a body, it wants to live. And the only way a body wants to live, it has to then go and convert the other cells into life. And the cells that are really not up to par need to release themselves. So I allow the intelligence of my body to release. And so I don't have too much energy where I'm not taking in the information. See, when you're doing so much of the energy, like chemotherapy, radiation, too much J juice, in reaction to your symptoms, when you're trying to just snap your fingers and get from point A to point B without really enjoying the process, then as soon as you get to your destination, then what? It's unfulfilling when you get to your destination that quick. And so the balance of taking in energy, so you're allowed to take in new information. You're allowed to actually process the information. And then you find ways to save yourself. You realize all the constructs and the distractions out there are taking you away from yourself, saving somebody who has no interest in saving themselves because they're too busy saving somebody else from your activism and your product and your therapeutic or whatever. And so it seriously comes down to you finally sitting and smelling the flowers and bringing enough energy in to process your environment, but releasing enough energy so you don't have too many conflicting memories, B-cell memories, that will work against you. So obesity is too many B-cell memories, not enough substance when someone is emaciated they will become a memory. And so it's managing how to keep a balance of memories so you can stay alive in this environment and you're not always suffering. But in this world, with the amount of mutating viruses and the amount of memories people are releasing into the atmosphere that you then have to go and contend with, then your home is your castle. Your home is the safest place. You take yourself out of the microbial wars, out of the activist wars. You start articulating your position. And you develop the present by writing out your purpose in life, which is not about anybody else. It's not about saving somebody else or making money off of somebody else. It's like, what are you going to do? You, as a person, what are you going to do to contribute to humanity without trying to save someone or without trying to demonize someone or destroy somebody else? That's the hardest of all, when someone has to look at themselves. It's easy to look at other people. Let me tell you, I've been doing it for many years. Facebook is easy to do that. But when you finally look within and you start saving yourself from all the distractions, then you'll have a different way of doing things and looking at things. And when you are recalibrating your biochemistry, your reality will change. Oh, I can guarantee that. When you start actually dealing with the viruses that you've held within, that you've put to sleep through therapeutics and other means, when you start regrowing the organs that were taken out from surgery and everything else, you will have a total different way of looking at things. And then when you feed your mind words and you go and chase after information, not for the biased, one-sided solution or problem argument that someone put out there, but you then develop your own arguments, your own perception of the world that isn't stealing from somebody else. Because you ultimately want to live. Life is staying in this protein suit on this earth. But if you think life is death, then yeah, you're going to do everything you can to realize your destination. And then if life is death to you, then what are you doing? Why are you doing what you're doing if life is death? If you expect to pass away someday, then why are you doing what you're doing? Because you can't guarantee that you're going to be able to enjoy the riches off of other people for whatever amount of time you think you are going to be given between now and whenever that time is, and then whatever time you think you're going to hit it big financially. And so that's why, you know, the obsession with money and status and social capital and saving other people is another construct that keeps 7.9 billion people distracted from their own lives, always in somebody else's life. And that the words that you use is the construct and the architect of your life, of your purpose. And so even I have to then look at what I'm writing in my book. Even I have to go and relook at what it is I'm putting out there. That's why I took out my last book off the market, because that's not necessarily where I'm at today. And I don't want my last book to be the last thing somebody remembers about me in their moment of whatever. That right now, the book is still in development. I am still looking for the words to use that is not stolen by somebody else, that is not promoting or advocating a perception of what someone or something is. I have to find a way to explain it without coming from a bias. You know how difficult that is? With all of the storylines that are out there? And there is a zillion of them. Yes, the Georgia Guidestones has a beautiful, beautiful mission statement. And you have a choice now. You could be in the Georgia Guidestones and be part of that mission statement, or you can write yourself out of that script. But I'm going to warn you, your politics, your religion, and your scientific dogmas are actively writing people out of the script. And so that's where I need to come from, is that you can write yourself in the script of life, or you can actively write yourself out of the script and promote other people writing themselves out of the script through their politics, religions, and scientific dogmas. But again, you can't say you're a proponent for life if you think people should die someday. But then I'm coming from the point of view that life is living in my protein suit, evolving to my environment, not demonizing or worshiping a person, place, or thing or microbe, that everything is relevant with balance, and that I take myself out of the wars that were given to me by my parents, by my community, by people on Facebook, by my government, and that you realize that most everything now, in the Vietnam War was the last time they had conscription, which is the draft. They don't have the draft anymore. Now going into the military is voluntary. And so if you choose to enter yourself into a war of conning someone into a script of destruction that is marketed through emotion, then you can't really blame anyone for the outcome. You voluntarily put yourself in a war when you sign on the dotted line. And I did it myself. Luckily, it was not during a wartime situation. I got out before George Bush froze all the discharges in the military. I got lucky because I could have been over there in the Gulf because I was in an active unit. It was in Mississippi, the Air Control Squadron in Mississippi. And they were more active than my last place was in California. So I could have been over there overseas. And so now nothing is forced on you. Everything is voluntary. The Freedom of Information Act tells you every single side effect that you must deal with. But the thing is that evolution and destruction happen simultaneously. Side effects is the body breaking down, telling you you need to build it back up. But if you keep destroying the energy of your body trying to evolve and regenerate, then you will turn into a memory. That's called death. That's called hospice. That's called palliative care. That's called managed care. That's called depending upon therapeutics forever until there's nothing left of you. So there's power in the pain. Evolution and destruction happen simultaneously, and the way you react to that energy will be the difference of longevity, or you then justifying why you pass away, why you take on all the therapies, why you're doing all your drugs, alcohol, and other stuff. And I had to really figure that out, because here I am trying to figure out, okay, what are side effects? Why is everybody mad about the side effects and the therapeutics, and they're not mad about the side effects and the J juice, and then the therapeutics are poison, then is the J juice poison? But if they're not poison, then nothing's poison, and oh my God, right? Because you're having two things happen simultaneously. When your body's releasing an old cell and is regenerating a new cell, it happens simultaneously. Death and reproduction happen simultaneously. Does it have to happen at the macro level? Or it can happen at the micro level and you still stay alive, but you still are honoring the life and death process within your body evolving. The old world being washed away through the waterfalls or diarrhea or the throwing up or the mucus. So the old world's falling away, the new world's developing, and you're eating food. Food is contributing to the new world. This last couple of days when I was feeling like shit and I was hungry, so I ate a bunch of food, then I would take a nap. Like I would take a nap and then I wake up from the nap like just so groggy, like I'm in another world. It's the weirdest thing. So I'm like, okay, I get my blood, and then I do the videos afterwards, right? But the digestion of the food And then the pooping and the pain of the releasing the poop too, because it can be painful sometimes as far as pushing everything out. That also is the magic of revelations and realization. The regeneration and the release are both pathways to clarities of thought. But if you're cured and you're not even aware of your release process and your regeneration process and your intake process, and you're just a robot, just eating food, eliminating, getting lost in your distractions, then that's kind of like the zombie apocalypse. When you don't feel every aspect of your life, when you can't even feel your environment, when you're going out there and you don't feel the different viruses and you're like, oh, I feel nothing at all. That's somebody that's cured that will then follow the laws of entropy, which is chaos and death, which is a body in a closed system, a cured system, will not survive a dynamic environment. That's the third law in physics of entropy. And so I know this is difficult. I know I am challenging so many people. And I understand, because we all want to save people. But in actuality, what we're doing is we're trying to save ourselves, but we are misdirecting our energy. And it is what it is. But that's exactly what's going on, is that we are not taking care of ourselves, and we're always taking care of other people. And when you take care of other people, you will lose sight of yourself and you won't exist anymore. And neither will the other person, because if you're not around to save them, who is? They're not going to save themselves. So when Gloria Estefan, and I went to her concert and she did a joke on us. She said, okay, everybody turn to the person behind you and shake their hand. What did everybody do? They looked to the person behind them to shake their hand, but there was no hand to shake. That's exactly what goes on in the savior mentality. You're trying to save someone who is not ready to be saved by themselves, and they're trying to save somebody else in terms of saving somebody else, and nobody's saving themselves because they're too busy saving someone who has no interest in saving themselves. And so then you're spinning. You're spinning in the dogmatic politics, religion, and scientific dogmas. And that is the recipe of destruction. That right there is key to understand. If you can't save yourself, you ain't doing nothing to save other people with whatever modality you are promoting out there. I don't care what it is. You're not saving them. You're just prolonging the inevitable, or you're accelerating the inevitable, or you're just trying to delay the inevitable, but you ain't saving them. All right, bye.